Otherwise, you end up drawing.
Drawing two places, yeah, they said you could do that. No, you can't, okay.
We will.
That was on a six,
You're not supposed to.
okay.
We have voice.
Are you ready for the Pledge of Allegiance?
We're gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. No department head briefing tonight. Scott's not here, no,
I couldn't reach yet.
no internet or
There's no
phone
way to
today,
know.
so. Committee update, Cannabis Committee?
Well, we had Megan at 5:30, so that,
Oh,
because they're trying.
sorry.
They came a long way.
Yep, absolutely, I'm sorry. So, Megan Hennessy and, I forgot your first name, I'm sorry.
Joe Sally.
Joe Sally, okay, great, are here from the state. Take it away, I guess.
Okay, you want me to start? I was somewhat unclear on what exactly you guys wanted from us, so based on the email that I saw, I put together a couple of things, and feel free if I'm way off base with what you're actually looking for, feel free to steer me in whatever direction you.
Okay, I'll just say, well, one of them's missing, but 3 of them are brand new. So as far as the state evaluation and all that stuff, we just thought it would be helpful if you could explain how that impacts us and kind of that stuff. Explain it to us, that's all.
So that's kind of what I guess I had prepared. I have a couple of handouts if you guys would like them, folks, as well.
You got spares?
Thank you.
I printed 10 and I think I counted 9 of us in here, so that's perfect.
Perfect.
Skip me.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take the first one because I screwed up. Double
Excuse
stick.
me, is that recording?
It's supposed to be voice recording. I'm taking the minutes, but we're kind of hoping, right, Chuck?
Yes.
Two. The Betty page.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not gonna happen again.
Justin? We have more.
Okay, I guess, we'll start with Article 9, Section 8 of the Constitution of the State of Maine, which sort of is the basis for all things property tax. It says, all taxes upon real and personal estate assessed by the authority of the state shall be apportioned and assessed equally according to the just value thereof. So just value over and over again through law court decisions is term used synonymous with market value. So that's the basis of wanting your assessments to be uniform and as close to market value as possible. So we're going to kind of move forward to, this is your state valuation, most recent, which was just recently put in the mail as a proposed copy, or you would have just recently received a proposed valuation for the town. So state valuation is just a quick background, is an equalization of all taxable property within each municipality each year. we go through this exercise in order that county taxes, municipal revenue sharing, and school subsidies are apportioned equally throughout the state of Maine. And in a sense, the more valuable your town is, the more you have to pay in county tax and the less subsidy you get for school and for revenue sharing. So it's sort of viewed as you're the rich kid, if you will, and you can afford to pay more. There are some towns out there that assess properties at a rate higher than market value. More of those towns are in northern, eastern, and central Maine. Down here, the last couple of years, in particular, with the way the market has been, I don't believe anyone is over 100% on their assessed valuations. The ratio keeps dropping because sale prices have been higher and higher. So we go in each year. Megan is your field auditor. She comes to town each and every year, and we go through a whole bunch of gyrations, and we produce this report. And this is the equalized value of the town. We do it everywhere for the three things I mentioned before: the county tax, revenue sharing, and school subsidy. So if you look at the first page, this is going to give you a 3-year snapshot. So our state valuation, it says 2020. That is because these are numbers that are I will finalize this and submit it to the Secretary of State by February 1st, 2020, but it's actually based off of your April 1, 2018 assessment. So as you can see, it takes us some time to get through all of this.
So I came this summer to do the 4/1/18 audit, and then it goes to Joe for review and approval, and then to the Secretary of State just for.
So you took Dave's place?
I did take Dave's.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just
Yes.
remember him because he's the one that always came.
Yep, that's right. So as you can see, state valuation has been increasing from your April 1/16 commitment, April 1/17 commitment, and April 1/18 commitment. You've gone up each year in the neighborhood of 7%, which is fairly standard, if not maybe even on the light side for this area. So that indicates that it's been a pretty healthy real estate market during that time frame, which is probably not a surprise to any of you. You go down through and it lists, that change as a percentage. The full value rate is basically a measure of your fiscal responsibility. That number means what would the tax rate be if everything was at 100%. If you have towns like, for instance, you guys here are at 81 and your tax rate is higher, it was I believe 15.3. If you were at 100%, it would be 12.55. So that's what that is. Your local tax rate, yeah, it's right there, 15.3. These are your commitment. That's the amount of money that you raise through commitment. Homestead reimbursement, that did go up this year, this year, we're 2 years backwards, for 2018, because the reimbursement level went from 50% by the state to 62.5%. So that's why you see a fairly sizable jump in that, which is good. Betty reimbursement appears to be pretty small but stable. It's not a hub for personal property, it doesn't appear. And then your totals. Down below is a snapshot of your municipal valuation. So this is the number that you actually committed on, your local valuation here. And then, of course, you have supplementals and abatements that are issued through the year, and those are factored in. Your homesteads and your Betty to give an adjusted municipal valuation. So as you can see, your adjusted municipal valuation went up about 8.5 million. So that's just local growth out of that 40.8 million as seen above in the amount of change in the 2020 state valuation. So some of that was local growth, the rest of it was market driven in essence. Down below, this is your sales data, and that's really what this hinges on, is the arm's length sales that have occurred within your community. It's a 2-year snapshot, so state valuation 2019, which would have been based on your 4/117 commitment, your assessments on average were 80% of what 86% of what things were selling for. Because of the healthy real estate market, that ratio has dropped 5 points from the April 117 commitment to the April 118 commitment. The sale period used, as you see right up here, that shows what sales that Megan was analyzing when she looked at those, and a lot of that data is given to us by you folks, or your tax assessor will fill out what's called a turnaround document, and they'll mail that to us, and that's sort of Megan's starting point for her sales ratio study. The assessment rating, as you see right underneath the average ratio, that's a measure of how closely bunched your sales are. So according to state standards, that number must be under 20% or 20 or under, not percent, I'm sorry. So kind of getting close, meaning that, some of the sales are spread. If you have one sale where the assessment is 50% of market value, and you have another one that the assessment is 150%, it averages out to 100. So you think, well, geez, our assessments are great, but your one's way under assessed and one's way over assessed, and so that's kind of a measure of that.
So each one gets a number assigned to it. The difference in value creates and generates a number, 1 to whatever, is that right?
It's your average deviation divided by your average ratio is the calculation.
Yeah. So we start at, so if you're looking at an individual sale,
Yeah,
so like that top one, item number 1, that was at 51%. So you can see the selling price was quite a bit over the assessed value.
right, so that, and then you get to, how do you get to 30 from there? The number, like, how's that?
That's the deviation, for that sale, so that's that
It's-
ratio.
You can see the ratio, the assessment is 51%.
Yep,
The average ratio is 81%. There's a difference of 30,
okay.
51
So
to 80.
that's the number it assigns how close it is to your average,
That's right.
okay.
Yep.
And that you wanna keep that under 20, keep the average of these under 20.
Yes.
So it doesn't take into account dollar value, so if one house sold for 100,000 and it was worth, estimated value was 80, and one sold for 300,000, and it was also 20% off.
That's right.
They would equal each other, one wouldn't weight the other one.
Correct.
Okay,
That's right.
One of the goals as set out by the Constitution is that we're equitable between classes.
yep,
So that's part of why we sort of ignore the difference in value, because if all your $300,000 properties are at 90% of market value and your $40,000 sale prices are at 20% of market value, that's a big problem, that you're inequitable within town.
Right, it's a tax rate for the different levels of income.
Yeah.
Basically.
Same thing with waterfront or commercial property. The goal is to have those in line with one another.
Yeah.
So that's really just a measure of the spread.
Yes. That's correct.
And one of the things, talking about sales and that turnaround, obviously, Joe mentioned arm's length sale, and that might not be a familiar term if you don't do what we do every day. So that is, a sale between parties that are, unrelated, and both parties are typically motivated. So if you have a sale where someone, they just got a job in California and they gotta go, and they sell under the market, that wouldn't be a typically motivated sale. If it's sort of a distressed situation. So that's in that turnaround where we ask for the local knowledge to let us know what is or isn't a valid sale for me to start off with. So that's where that document really is very important, is the starting point for this.
And where do you get that information from, us or from the town, or?
We send you a document that's generated from the real estate transfer tax forms. And then you fill it out and indicate, you folks have obviously far more local knowledge than Megan ever.
Son-in-law, but the last name's not the same, but.
That's right, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So who filled it out?
I don't know, don't even know, I don't know.
Laura?
I hate to admit that I took out last year's turnaround already. I have 62 municipalities and a very tiny Portland apartment, so I weed out any documents that I don't as quick as I can. So I have that in Portland, but I don't.
Wouldn't it be O'Donnell?
Did you guys have Rob Sutherland working here for?
Yeah, it was the O'Donnell.
O'Donnell, yeah.
Yeah, one of the O'Donnell.
Yeah, cause I would say I saw his name on the ratio declaration.
Yeah.
So that's pretty standard that the assessor would fill it out, is that who?
Yes.
And would they ask other people, like us or the selectmen, the current people working, if they knew things, would be the procedure they follow? Or would they just fill it out and send it back without asking anybody?
Generally, if you have an agent in town, they'll normally, because an agent's no different than Megan, they're coming from, if it's O'Donnell, they'd be coming from New Gloucester.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know any of these things, so common practice would be to ask people that are working here in the town office that would have more of an idea of the situation. And
They'll know some of them, just.
they'll know some of them. Sometimes the sale prices will be a big indicator. If you have a sale that, sells for, say, half and everything else is far more than that, then that would prompt, I would think, them to ask a question of why is.
So you guys send that to the assessor, the agent that's hired by the.
We send it to the town, and normally the town would give that to the agent, yeah.
And it's normal practice to have the assessor do that, to fill that out? That's normal practice?
Yeah. It's part of their responsibility.
Seems like they shouldn't be the ones to fill it out, because if it comes back too slighted, then there's no motivation for the town to have them, speed up or pay them more or start another evaluation, you know what I mean?
I would say we're also bound by professional ethics, and
Yeah.
I think most of the assessors do a very good job of, it says in the Constitution, you have to be equitable and
Yeah.
fair, and that's a professional ethical duty to do that. So I would say most of the assessors, fulfill that very professionally. But certainly it's up to every town to work with their agent.
Right.
They're your agent.
We have a real mishmash across our state. We have a lot of towns with a full-time employee of the municipality as the assessor. We have a lot of other towns in our state that have an assessing agent, who may be in the office a day a week, a day a month, whatever it may be. And we still have a lot of towns in the state that the Board of Select Persons act as the assessor. And so it's really all over the board as far as who does the work and how it's done and so on and so forth.
Another comment I would make in terms of sales studies, when we're doing our work, we're looking for a representative sample of your market. So if you had, one sale that, actually it's 1 3/4 story and you had it down as 1 story and you just, someone typoed something into the system, or I would probably throw that sale out. But if you have 5 of those sales, well, that's your market. It was set up like that. You're missing information that's indicative of a sort of root issue in your assessing system. So that's just another comment that we're looking for that standard market. And I can be a little bit of a stickler on that point.
It's the same thing. Occasionally we'll come across people where they'll get this report back and they'll say the town's at 80%, and they'll say, well, geez, I'll fix that. And so they'll monkey with sales after, if the assessments, say 80% on average, they'll go in and monkey with those sales so that in hopes that next year this will look like maybe 95%. Well, we're not gonna buy that. If you're only going to the sale properties and monkeying with those, then that's not indicative of your market and your assessing practices as a whole within your community. So we won't change the assessment from what it was the prior year to the current year, so.
So the goal of you guys is to make sure that the assessing is being done properly, that's why you said, and to take that into account, like there might be a mistake here, but if it shows that your process is flawed, then you wanna point that out and make it get corrected.
That's right.
You guys said you use local comps as well as multiple listing service, I guess that's how you get the average sale price, right? How are you guys determining that?
The sale prices come off the real estate transfer tax forms,
Okay.
and then the assessments.
Amount numbers?
I'm
So
sorry?
you just average it out regularly, like there's 90 of them, you divide the total by 90? Okay.
Yeah, so that's the average of your true sale prices as they came through on the transfer document.
Alright, so we're not like using comps out of Sanford
No,
or.
no, only within your
To
town.
assess our property,
That's right.
right? Okay.
That's right. All within your community and only your community.
You will
So-
see on this first page, number of appraisals, and I think that can be kind of confusing for this area, because this area that will always be blank, that is some of like the very northern municipalities that they may only have, 2 sales a year or
No,
whatever.
there are several that have
There's-
no sales per year.
Say, go to Lorraine Airport, basically giving away property.
Yeah, so areas like that, our field reps will have to do an appraisal to come up with a sort of estimate of what the sale price would be and compare it to the assessed value. But in this municipality, we have more than enough sales that truly happened, and that's the best indicator of the market. So that number will always be blank for you, but that's why it's there, and I think that can be a little bit confusing sometimes.
And the point of all this basically is to make sure the state gets their fair share of tax dollars, I mean.
No. The point of this is to equalize every municipality. So let's say you guys are assessing at 81%. We're gonna bring you up to 100%. If you have other towns that may be assessing at 110% of market value, we bring them down to 100. So it's equalized all across the state, so that when they're divvying up the county taxes, the municipal revenue sharing, and the school subsidies, everyone's on a level playing field.
Well, with the schools, I mean, they just basically tell us we gotta pay them and then we pay them. I mean, is that a number they get from you guys? From the state, the school boards?
The schools,
Yeah,
they come up with their own budget locally.
And the percent that you would be responsible for, or the,
comes from this number.
or that can vary from, the amount of education subsidy you
Subsidy.
get back comes from this number. The amount that you pay of the budget depends on how your school system is set up, that you're allocated between cities, so whether you're paying on a population or per pupil or however your
Yeah, cause we always
district
hear our
is.
property taxes go up because the school tax goes up, so what I'm asking is there a correlation between, school says we need this much money going to you guys, and then you turn around and change the assessment on us to give them that much more money they need.
So the number, the part of school funding that we play into is the education subsidy that you get from the state. So that, I audit everybody in York County,
Yep.
everybody in Cumberland County, so I treat Lebanon the same as I treat Sanford, as Elliott, as York, as Lyman, whoever, everybody in York. I treat them the same so that I come up with this 100% number, and then that valuation can go into the formula that says, okay, Lebanon is entitled to X amount in education subsidy, York gets Y amount in education subsidy. And then the actual budget number that you have to pay for, that's all the local, that we don't have, state evaluation doesn't play into that, that's your local
But you give them a
budget
subsidy,
process.
right, a certain amount of subsidy, do we have access to that? If we want to say, well, why not, school bill go up $1.5 million? Do we have access to what you gave them for subsidies?
I would imagine you're starting to get a little bit out of where
Alright,
we
fair enough.
do it. And for the record, I've often, because we're asked a lot of schools, the big dollar player here,
Yeah.
we're asked about schools a lot. And as far as the formula for all of that goes, when I first came to work here, I was like, so how do we calculate that? How do we, and the answer was always like, it's kept somewhere where we don't have access, including our director. So it's really, when you start getting into that funding, subsidy portion, it's sort of really out of our,
I mean, I guess
Yes,
the reason
area.
I asked that is because if you're giving the school more subsidy, we shouldn't be paying more to the school if the state's subsidizing them. Because you're taking the state evaluation taxes from us. Why are you giving them more of a subsidy and we're paying them more? That's why I was basically asking the question.
well, I can tell you that the education subsidy, there's one pie in the state of Maine.
Yeah.
And it's broken up, so it's not just the towns in York County or Cumberland
Right,
County,
they get
it's,
different formulas for each RSU, SAD, or those different things.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's done, there's one pie and it's done on the whole state level. And as far as, there is a subsidy to each town. How much that is and how it's calculated is, again, really beyond where we have even, we don't even have access.
No, I hear you, it's just, it's just like, they were gonna take your money, but they were gonna give it back to you at a different rate. Yeah. Okay.
What, I see it says on the number of homestead exemptions we have. Is there a place on here that says the amount of money that each like the total of what each person gets with that exemption?
I have it calculated for last year. Last year, you guys were able to certify 100 and your tax, it was $306 per homestead. That was,
So like almost 50,000, and found the 1648. You said 300 per homestead, was our average dollars per house?
yes, 306.
1,648 houses. So,
Yeah, you had 1,655 homesteads total. That's going to be going up,
25,000.
yeah, 25,000 and reimbursed at, I believe,
Looking at the wrong,
I think they just changed it in the legislature last year. I would have to check, but I think that the percentage,
went down and the amount went up, right?
No, I think the percentage and the amount both went up.
Yeah, they both went up because the state was getting extra money, and some of the small towns, say, why aren't we getting our money back? So they turned around and changed the Homestead Exemption Act, which brought it from 20 to 25,000. And they increased the percentage that goes to people that qualify, because basically you have a house in the state of Maine, you would qualify.
You have to have owned it for 12 months on April 1st of that year, but.
Okay.
You guys have good questions, any more, or you?
I'm sorry.
I have something, so it usually takes 6 years to do a reassessment of town, is that right? I mean, or do some places do it faster, or do you?
It's really market driven
Yeah.
normally, a lot of towns, it varies too. There are some that wanna have a revaluation every X amount of years in order to keep things, very tidy, so on and so forth, and they budget for it. Even though their ratio may not show that they need a revaluation per se. Other towns, once they start getting, down into the 80s, they'll start to budget for it and,
That reval, each individual reval, once you decide to do a reval, it would not typically be a 6-year process
No.
to do that once you enact it. That is typically, we try and do them in 1 year.
Whole town running?
Yeah.
But that requires having the funding allocated to hire enough staff to do it, because obviously it takes quite a bit of time.
There's something that I was reading online called a midterm evaluation, where you do something that's not a complete reassessment of the town from going door to door, but change your structure setup to make it.
You can do that, a lot of times, and again, it varies all over the state. If you go through a full-blown door-to-door revaluation, and at that point, you're, assuming that your contractor does a professional job, number one, you'll be able to certify at 100%. Number two, with everything set up in the computer like that, and if you have the same contractor staying on to do your agent work, then if they can identify weaknesses in their assessments, as, because the market doesn't sit still, things, waterfront property may increase in value at a faster rate, or, so on and so forth. But if they can identify weaknesses within the system, then they can make, neighborhood adjustments, if you will, to certain areas of town where, if you've got 5 or 6 sales in a certain area that tell you one thing, then they may think about moving all of the other similarly situated properties up within that certain portion.
So in order to do that, you have to do all the like ones in the town, and once all the whole section's done, you can just raise that or change that evaluation for the rest. Is that what you're saying, basically?
Yeah.
And then what if your system was flawed because it's so old, and the way they do the, small ranch, large ranch, and they do the ones valued at whatever, 50,000? Is there a way to unilaterally increase everything, all structures and all land at a certain percentage, as long as you do it the same percentage across the board as a midterm evaluation?
Yeah.
To get you closer to the 100% instead of waiting the full 3 years to finish the assessing?
You could do a factoring. A lot of towns will do that. It won't fix anything to do with this assessment rating down here, so.
But it will for the future years.
No,
No.
it's not gonna affect, because if your quality rating is 17, if you factor everyone the same, your quality rating is gonna remain 17. Your ratio would probably increase, or it should increase, because your assessed values are going to increase. But as far as your equity is not gonna change, because if everyone's here right now and you factor them all equally, then your equity is still gonna.
So you would change your central tendency, but not the dispersion, the spread between
You
properties.
can change the Y location, but not the quartile distribution.
I don't know what either of those things mean. But,
Sorry, never
So-
mind.
Yes, you're correct.
so the number is just a difference in value from sale, though, the number that gives you your quality rating.
Yep.
So that would, you're saying that would change? I don't understand why the other number wouldn't change.
Your deviation
I can explain.
doesn't
All right.
necessarily,
I need a pen.
Yeah,
so,
Jim.
So what the 17 represents is there's the curve of your distribution for accurate sales.
Right.
If we take this curve and we move it up or down, the distribution doesn't change.
that's right, your ratio changes, but your deviation doesn't change.
But if the value's higher, because of, I mean, that's the,
Right, because it's, remember, it's the deviation from your average, so your average is also higher,
Right. You're moving everything up
everything.
together.
Both the numerator and the denominator are going to change together.
but the sales numbers, that's the one that's, that one, that's the difference, right? So if every house in town is valued at 100,000 and you just add 10% and everyone's valued at 110 and everything's sold for 120, you cut that difference from your actual by 10,000, by half.
Right, but your ratio also changes. So it sort of, I guess, kind of like what he drew, that curve, you can change your assessments, but it's still gonna be like this.
Because remember, it's comparing to the average, and the average is going to change with it, so
Right.
an individual sale would look better, but on the whole, you still have a problem.
It's like stock market.
It's
Evaluate,
also, if you think about it, we build models to predict the sale price is what we do as assessors. And if you have bad data into the model, you're gonna get bad data out of a model. If you factor everything by 10%, you're gonna have bad data plus 10% coming out of the model.
It could be used, and towns do use a factoring as normally as, a type of a Band-Aid to buy a
Yeah.
little bit more time before revaluation, because revaluations are costly to towns.
So what would you suggest, what would be is there an answer short of accelerating the reevaluation? What could we do as opposed to paying that, 2 years early?
Can I ask, I'm a little bit ignorant on this right now, because I don't.
Well, we're paying them
I-
over 4 years or 6 years?
60.
6 years.
So you're having a revaluation
Yeah.
Yes.
conduct, okay,
And they're 2.5 years away from finishing.
okay,
And one of the things they offered was to accelerate and pay the next 3 years basically in advance, so the last 2 years in advance, to get it so our ratio is corrected, because it's like your numbers show it's on the downward trend and we're getting close to that cutoff point where we lose it. So is there anything that can be done to,
so is he saying who is O'Donnell doing,
O'Donnell.
okay, so what he's saying is that if you pay for the remainder of the contract, he'll get the work done sooner, or?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, I mean, that seems probably like a very reasonable solution. But I'm not a taxpayer in your town either, so it doesn't cost me money.
right? Well, the yearly cost is about the same as the amount of money being saved for the reevaluation. And then there's a $30,000 maintenance fee. So accelerating that, it's gonna be pretty much a break even for the taxpayers.
But
If you
you'll get
factor all the
more-
numbers in.
That you'll get more reimbursement back from the state with if you're able to certify at a higher ratio.
Cause our homestead this year went down to 19,000 and I believe the veterans one went down also because we're not where we're supposed to be. So this is only gonna get worse, I assume.
That's correct.
Because for years, all we did was, as long as I can remember, and I worked here for 15 years, so, it was by style of home. So a ranch, a little ranch, a big ranch, they were all assessed the same. So we were trying to fix that, and be fairer because it kept going down and down and I don't know. We didn't vote that in, so, to accelerate, so we're still at the level of, which by the time he gets done, he's probably gonna start all over again, because, you know what I mean, I don't know, yeah.
You had mentioned that 20, for the rating, that 20 was kind of the magic number. What happens when you hit 20?
Well, in theory, the state could mandate a revaluation. I've not ever seen that. It's harder, when you get in more remote areas of Maine, to keep, you have so little sales data. It's harder to keep that, quality rating under 20. So I've not ever seen the state actually mandate a revaluation, but, I know that there's also a kicker, if you are failing to reach the 70%, that they do take part of your tree growth reimbursement. So there's good reason, and never mind the fact that for the taxpayers, there's good reason to do a reval. Number one, you're gonna have more uniformity within your assessments. Number two, everyone can get their homestead exemption at 100, at the full, next year will be $25,000 rather than a percentage of that. Same thing, your tree growth taxpayers will be paying at 100% rather than a percentage. So, ultimately, it's good for the town to be near 100%.
Is there a way to know exactly what, like the tree growth, what kind of number is that in dollars that?
It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be figured out, you guys have a fair amount of tree growth, if I remember.
Yes, I do.
A lot of trees here.
About 9,500
I
acres.
feel like I was looking through a lot of applications. Yeah, so,
No, I just wonder at what point, like I said, if the taxpayers are just saving, at what point does the scale tip?
Don't some towns don't care about getting the reimbursement?
Yep, they're,
They just don't care and yeah, I'm not saying they don't care, but I know they don't, and it's probably up in the northern areas.
in coastal Maine, there are a couple of towns that their assessment level is like in the 40s.
Yeah,
Quality rating is not great, but they don't, tree growth isn't, it's coastal, there's not.
we have a lot
lot
of
of-
it here, I believe we do.
Tree growth, yeah, you do have a lot
Yeah.
here, but see, for a place, on the ocean that doesn't have a lot of tree growth, there's not a,
Big incentive.
right,
and
There's no
there's some,
incentive.
there's some municipalities that conversely aim to assess at, say, 105% of market so that they get 5% extra in the reimbursement from the state.
which all of this is a terrific segue into this, ratio declaration form. So I just wanted to show you this real quick. This was the form that was filled out by Rob Sutherland when he worked at O'Donnell. So this right here is due each year by June 1st, and the important part to note about this form is that whatever the most recent ratio we have for the town is, you're allowed a 10% cheat, if you will.
And that's what we did.
That's what everyone does, as well they should. So at the time that this was filled out, the most recent state valuation that we had on file would have been back from state valuation 18 based on your April 1, 16 commitment, and you were at 91%. So 10% onto 91 is 9.1, so you could certify 100.1 when you chose to certify 100. So that's why your April 118 commitment, you were able to give the full 20,000 on homesteads and veterans and whatnot. But we're at a point now where you won't be able to quite achieve that. So I just wanted to show you that you are allowed, because I mean, very rarely is a town really going to come in at exactly 100%. You know, there are lots that, you know, are 95 to 105 basically, that kind of, they try real hard to stay there, but it's hard to, your assessment's not always gonna mimic market value,
Yeah.
so. I did wanna just talk to you very quickly about, so this the quality rating, the assessment rating, being here at 17, that's, I believe, the highest in York County. The county average I calculated today was 11.31. So the assessments aren't bunched quite as tightly as here in town as they are on average across the county. 17 is not a horrible assessment rating, but a revaluation would likely improve that, I would think, quite a bit, as a matter of fact. So a lot of times after a reval, when you have the amount of data that you will have, I mean, over a 1 year period to have 84 arm's length sales, that's a lot of data. So I wouldn't be shocked if at the end of the revaluation, your assessment rating was, you know, 7, 8, 9 isn't uncommon after a revaluation.
So we wanna get it lower than 17, because or do we wanna get higher?
Lower, yeah. That means your assessments are, the sales price is more closely bunched
We
together.
wanna bring a low averages, York County's 11, we're at 17, so we wanna drop ours. Right, that's what you just said?
Yeah, it shows basically a better quality of assessing in the town. Things are more uniform amongst taxpayers.
And Donald does that for us? Yeah.
Donald,
Yeah.
It's too bad Dave wasn't here, cause he had been with us for a long time, so he knew our story, and probably had given us advice on that many times over.
Oh, I see now. So the lower the number just means that it's on the average, that it's selling on the average for the town difference. It's, the goal is not to be for that, it's to be uniform. I gotcha.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how, if it's sold for the assessed value, how the number was so high, but it's because it deviates that far
That's
off of
right.
that number. And that's
Right.
why doing the midterm reevaluation, if you just want blanket increase.
It wouldn't change, it would
Yeah.
change your ratio, it
Yes,
just
I
wouldn't affect your
understand.
quality.
Right.
But the ratio is the one that gets you the homestead exemption.
That's right.
So it would fix that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And that's something that could be done. I mean, do companies like O'Donnell do that, or is it a
Yep.
separate company?
Nope.
So they could just do a blanket reval on a shorter amount of time by,
Like a blanket factoring.
yeah.
Yeah, and when you move assessments on a grand scale like that, you may wanna talk to John about that, just because he's probably going to, number one, have to figure out what, you know, you might need to go up, 40% on this class of property, but only 5% on this, so it's can be kinda tricky, and he'll probably also have to build in some time to do some sale data research as far as what to do, how to go about it, and also to set up some,
So it couldn't be a straight
it
percentage
It could
across the
be.
board, and that would keep everyone's tax.
it could be, I'm not saying that it can't be, but you would want him to figure that out
Yeah.
after looking at sales data. Because if let's say if, I don't even know if you guys have a body of water in town, but a lot of times what we see in the state is that, you have this nice little lake over here and the assessments are say 50% of what things are actually selling for, and then, you know, the people that live off the water are more like 90%, so they're paying more than their fair share of the burden. So if that were the case, if you have one class at 50% and one at 90, you wouldn't wanna say, well, we're gonna move everyone up 25, because then
Right.
it doesn't change anything, you still have the disparity amongst property classes.
So they're best done in a scenario like that you have sales showing you have a specific, inequity that you can remedy through that sale-driven data, so.
And the deviation number, does that affect the homestead exemption too? If that, what does that affect
The
for us?
quality rating,
Yeah, the quality rating.
it's just a measure of equity.
So that doesn't, it doesn't
It's not gonna
affect the
affect-
tree growth money, that has nothing to do with dollars.
That's all ratio driven.
Yeah,
All of that.
that's just showing the equitability within town.
So if we were in the middle of, since we're in the middle of reevaluation, it wouldn't matter if that number didn't change for a couple years, but if we could fix the other number on a shorter basis, at less money, we could save money, all right.
The ratio is easier to Band-Aid than the quality rating.
Right. Okay. You guys have any more questions? Did you have any more for us, or?
Just very quickly, I wanted to, if you flip over the state valuation here to page 2. This is how state valuation is arrived at. Up top, you're gonna see land, and this is what Megan does when she comes to town. She takes your total land valuation and she goes through a bunch of gyrations and breaks them out into different classes of property. So on the left-hand side, as you look at this page, that's the local assessment for different types of property. On the right-hand side is the state's valuation of the same property. Same thing if you go down into the middle section, on the left-hand side is the town valuation, right-hand side is the state. And you're gonna see these terms like adjusted certified ratio and combined study. The adjusted certified ratio is a ratio when your current ratio as a result of the current study varies by more than 10% from what you certified. So in this case, you were at 100 and your ratio study was coming out at 81. So we split the difference, and that's for commercial and industrial property. And it's in essence an acknowledgement of the fact that the commercial and industrial markets don't necessarily move the way the residential markets move. You don't have anywhere near as much sale activity, certainly not in most of the state of Maine enough to measure that. So we sort of split the difference in between the certified ratio and where your current ratio is at. And the combined study is just your sales ratio study, which begins on the next page. So as you can see, when it comes to residential property, waterfront property, as far as their land, we adjust those. Your local number, we adjust upward to get to 100%. You guys had 98 million in change of residential lots. We had 121 because we took that ratio and factored that to market value. So that's
Another comment I'll make, looking at the state valuation, and I'm not sure if Joe made a copy
I didn't
of
know
this,
that. I ran out of paper and I thought it was like not that important, but
on this, it's, the last page of what's sent to you, it's called the Report of Assessment
you
Review.
don't have it in your hands from what I provided you, but you do, we mail it to you, so you do have a copy here.
And I would just draw your attention, comments or plans in compliance, is on each and every one of these, and you reminded me when you were talking about Dave, recently I was asked to look at the past 10 years of state valuation for Lebanon, and in nearly every one of them, there was a comment regarding the system of assessment, and a recommendation that, revaluation should be considered, so, I'll just put that comment out for all of you, for food for thought.
Yeah.
Of course, I gotta ask, who's asking to reevaluate Lebanon? Somebody here?
I was, there wasn't a request for revaluation, it was a request for information. Public documents.
Do you guys have any more questions for us?
Thank you for
Yeah,
coming,
I-
thank you.
Yeah, I
I learned a lot, I appreciate it very
And
much.
you can call or email either Megan or myself anytime that I know being in your position is, you have to know a lot about a lot of different things.
You do.
And, so it helps to get a little guidance along the way.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys
Yeah, you say
coming.
that with a smirk, so you're like, I don't wanna be, that's what
It's actually, I was just asked to be to run for council in my town, and I was like, no way, no way at all.
I kinda picked it up, like, yeah, well.
I was like, I don't know enough stuff to,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we gotta know, that's for sure. And, you know, I don't even know why I am half the time. Yeah, old mobile.
it takes people better than me to wanna do it, I can tell you that, so.
And if any of you do reach out, just use my cell phone, that work number goes up to Augusta and you'll get a chain of, a
Automation.
relay chain that you just use the cell number.
So you guys actually work for the state, okay? Yeah, gotcha. Thought you're subcontractors to the state, okay? Okay,
State employees.
stay employed, there you go, you live in Portland, get out of there, get yourself a nice house, I know they pay you guys good.
And actually, we make quite a bit less, than other people in this industry.
Well, I mean, you can't compare Maine to Mass, or.
No, I'm saying the private contractors that do tax
Oh, yeah.
assessing work.
I mean, me too, my job at the shipyard, private contract, makes over $150,000 for what I do, I'm half that. So, I get it.
But it's good, there are certainly benefits
Yeah.
to it, so.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
So what town is it, watching the month going Dublin?
Huh?
What town you live in?
Pittsfield?
Pittsfield, okay.
Yeah. I'm a ways away. It was kinda neat though, occasionally I do get over this way, I have a few times since I've worked at Maine Revenue, and I always kind of enjoy the drive, but I'm busy gawking around. I like to look at everything, so.
Yeah,
It's nice down here though, or
it is, it's very nice.
That's why we do this, we try to keep it that way.
you guys got the storm quite a bit worse than we did too.
Yeah.
It was, I think further south and west, it was worse.
That was ugly this morning, 3 detours to get to work.
Yeah, I bet.
Afraid you were trying to call to make sure it was okay and there's no phones, and I'm like,
Well, I was thinking that as I drove down, I'm like, I haven't heard from anyone, so I'm gonna assume that it's a go, but.
And was like, I should maybe have checked on this, and I was like, when we heard the generator going, it's like, alright.
well, I'm glad you did.
It's all good.
Couldn't have- So
I
thank
didn't
you.
have power in downtown Portland,
Yeah,
shocked.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
I saw her when she audited, yes.
Yes, I figured they'd come here.
Yes.
That was informative.
Was, cannabis committee?
Is new members a separate item or is that now?
No, yeah, I can do that now.
Okay, so is it okay to use names?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so as I mentioned last week, Betty has withdrawn from the committee. We had one opening, and an alternate. We were gonna propose Martha Felicia for the opening and Kyle Fitzsimmons for the alternate. With Betty leaving, we would like to propose both of them for full membership and keep the alternate open. And they've both been to probably 4 meetings at this point, so they're regular attendees, and.
They need to be, installed and approved, right?
They need to be approved, and then we need the paperwork so they can come swear in.
Kyle, huh?
Yep. He's a character, but he's got a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, he's a good, he's a very smart kid.
Very
Yeah.
smart.
When I was running for selectman, he's like, listen, you can't vote for town manager because it's becoming an autocracy at that point, you just turn it over here.
He's got some interesting political views, but he manages to keep himself pretty much on target, so
Yeah.
he's been very, he's been useful on the committee.
Yeah, it does strike me though that he wants to do this because he sat here 2 weeks ago and said, what's the point of the committee? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well, I think he was questioning that,
yeah.
so that he knew if he wanted to go to it or not.
Yeah,
Listen, I just had a roast beef sub from Carl's Meat Market, so if he wants to be on the
Did he bring
committee.
you one?
Listen, I was working Saturday, so.
If you don't bring enough for everybody, you shouldn't have any stuff.
They're like, do you see me with the sub? No. I said I had one this weekend.
Candy jar.
Did you work with me this weekend? Yeah.
Anything else, James?
we've moved to meeting every other week instead of weekly, because we had some scheduling issues. Other than that, nothing new this week.
So no meeting this coming
This
Tuesday?
coming Tuesday, there's no meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a quick question though about this other application, because we gotta approve this, right?
Yes,
Alright, so Martha T. Soto, I guess, Galicia,
Galicia, yeah.
Boy Scouts of America leader? What,
Legal. Leader and legal.
legal secretary and knowledge of the law. So is she currently with the Boy Scouts?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Alright, that's all I wanted to know. There you go, Chuck.
Can we read them?
Yes, thank you.
Do you wanna look at this one?
It was cold this Saturday, we did the car transport, and then by the time we got done, it was like 5 o'clock, and as soon as we got done, the sun started coming out for a little bit, like, what is going on here?
I don't even remember Saturday at this point.
Yeah. I do, because that's when I got that roast beef sub.
I gave your donation all to the junior fire because I got it done for the.
Just nasty.
Yeah, I was there by myself, so.
Yeah.
Public
Yeah.
participation?
Oh, are you looking at me?
You're the only one here.
So, actually, yeah, I have a couple of questions about what we just heard here, because what I don't understand, maybe James can answer, maybe you guys can answer. If somebody was looking to push that evaluation faster, could they sign that paper? I don't understand how that all happened, how we go from 100% last year to 80% this year. And I don't understand how none of the selectmen seem to know what houses or what circumstances, and I'm not talking about you because I know you guys are new, but I don't understand how nobody knows. Well, not only you, there was more than just you here, Laura. If I wanted to say Laura, trust me, I would say
Come
Laura.
on,
Yeah,
just.
I understand.
At any rate.
Yeah.
I don't understand how an agent, an assessing agent for the town made those determinations.
We don't know that.
We don't know that.
So can we find that out? 'Cause
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
ask him.
worried about that.
No, I was gonna ask him.
Appreciate it.
The thing that bugs me, and I saw that you saw it too, the homestead stuff, I've been putting off for a long time, there's a lot of people in town here who have homes that have not filed the homestead exemption.
I've been putting it out,
You
putting
know,
it out,
there's,
as much as I can.
there's just a lot that's not out there, cause the more those file, from what I was told, the committee that's on that helps us overall tax wise, cause it gives us a percentage back on it, so we lose what we
So
get.
when I asked at the county level, they told me that a lot of the reason is that there are a lot of first-time home buyers in Lebanon and the turnover for homes is greater, like between 1 and 3 years, a lot of the
So it's a
small
starter home,
homes.
so they're not eligible.
Right, so
because they
they're not
haven't been here
eligible.
And as of
Right.
April first.
Right, so that happens a lot here in town, so,
Something else like the situation we're in, where we have 2 homes on 1 lot. Only one of those homes can go homestead.
right.
Yeah, but then, and because you're a veteran, you get the Veteran Act though too on it.
Yeah, except I don't actually own one of the homes, my daughter owns.
Oh, okay.
So, but that does change it too, which they didn't say is like the amount of turnover, you know, of the house, cause you have to be certain length of time, a year, right? A year.
Yeah.
Alright, anything else?
No later.
Okay. Probably gonna end up regretting that one, but.
I will, why are you gonna kick me out
Yes,
without
no,
public
no.
participation?
Um,
I don't care, I said all
Review of
really
minutes.
I had to say last week,
There you go.
I just like to remind people to get out there and.
everybody good with the minutes?
Yep. That was a quick public participation.
She's saving it up for later.
And I'm
Be around-
actually.
be around
not
11
gonna lie,
o'clock.
I've been so busy being 2 people that I really don't have a whole lot.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the October 10th, 2019 meeting as written.
Seconded.
Okay.
Discussion?
Okay.
All in favor? Right,
We got it.
and we got the AP warrant. For. Sweet, which is
Is that,
$35,911.22.
Rolled that over into took my money out of the international market.
Is that, a little bit higher than
I think it's lower because there was no school.
Yeah.
well,
That
no,
number
I mean,
last
We've had a lot of
discounting the
payments.
school, I'm just talking local week to week, is that a little bit higher than it, no? I thought it was like around 20 a week.
Might be, I don't know.
Wondering what the big cost was.
well, there were some classes that went there. We paid for classes, training.
Travel. Hotel.
I don't think there was a hotel.
Oh, a lot for the fire department, emergency reporting software. That, a lot of that software went through for the fire department.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yep. Paperwork. The roadside mowing contract, we still haven't heard from Chris or got a signature from him, so I don't, we wanna proceed with somebody else, or,
Running out of time.
yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll talk to Scott about finding somebody else to do it, so,
It's been, what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
yeah. Yeah, it's been,
So is he not signing the contract or?
well, he hasn't returned any calls or anything, right? Is it?
That's right.
Yeah, from Scott or her, so, I think we should just let Scott move on from it if he wants to, just to get it done, what we need to get done.
Did you have another bidder?
No. So I make a motion, we move on from Kilpatrick's roadside mowing and, or bid, and let Scott find somebody else?
Do we officially accept that bid?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're gonna have to need a motion to reject it?
Right, is that, yeah, is that, what-
No,
no, Matt, is that how I should word it?
No,
I'm-
probably, I mean,
I'm not sure exactly how to do this, that's why I'm
Okay.
asking.
well, no, but we probably should, because you tried to contact him and he's not responding, so I assume he doesn't wanna do it, or,
Right.
I guess.
So, I make a motion to reject the roadside mowing bid from Gilpatrick
I have a
Services.
question though. Even though we approved it, we the ones that gonna reject it, or is Scott, because Scott?
We accept and reject all
Okay,
bids.
gotcha, okay.
Any seconds?
Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor? This is the only other?
Yes.
Okay. So we have an application for the Board of Appeals.
It's a good meeting, not a whole lot to do, I'm excited.
If I can, just.
You're shaking your head and smiling, should I not get too excited?
I'm just really glad that she came in and put in that application. She had that discussion before only with the chairman of the former board, who discouraged her from coming because she's like an educator and he thought she would be better in another position, but she really wants to be on the Board of Appeals. So I've never met her personally, I've only talked to her and she really wanted to be on the Board of Appeals. So I'm glad that she's actually submitting an application. This is for alternate, and we'd be glad to have her.
Did you want to interview her, Deb, or?
I don't think I need to, when she was actually going to come before, she had a discussion with me that I felt comfortable with, I wanted her then, so, you know, I don't think a
She's
lot has
left-handed.
changed in a
Noticed that
year.
too, huh?
You know, I don't think a lot has changed in a year's time, since she was coming before, and I think I feel pretty comfortable, even not knowing her, saying, okay, come on in.
Your issue with that is?
Yeah, you got, not necessarily.
Are you welcome to?
Usually the smart
We should
people are,
probably
you know,
appoint
my wife, my mother.
three. But we would do that when we sign the paper, right?
Double doctorate.
That would be the other, yeah.
I got the right-handed gene, I just have street smart.
Just make sure she's,
I can add,
okay.
I can subtract,
Yes, you can.
that I can do.
Alright, old business,
Did you approve her, by the way?
We have to have appointment papers.
yeah, she's got a,
They'll write them up and then we'll,
Thank you.
Forest View Cemetery transfer.
on this.
Oh, that's hold until September, never mind, Paul.
Well, you may, yeah, get rid of the September, but it's gone. I asked for permission last week about contacting a local lawyer, and I went through Stacy's file to see what we have contracts with, and we have an account with a lawyer in Sanford right now that has a credit balance that we could use and not have to hit the other legal bucket.
Nice.
So when Lynn can get her computer back up and running, she'll see my request for the memo.
Awesome. Karina's not here with a list of the properties and structures. Streetlight on River Road. And, Oak Hill there.
Yeah, Karina saw where they did install the light and it is in the wrong spot. And that's the one they're supposed to be moving here in a couple weeks.
Okay. Fire department transfer, still looking for heirs, right? But
You haven't heard anything?
I haven't heard anything on that.
I did contact Amy on that and I hadn't, she got back to me saying that she would get back to me in a matter of 3 or 4 days and I haven't heard anything.
Okay. Town hall transfer.
I do have an update on that and I'd like to sneak that into an executive session.
Okay.
You have a chance.
Transfer station, a cardboard container. I'm still waiting to talk to Waste Management about the contract. Anything on the metal, Jeff? The transfer?
Called Hardings and CIA and just waiting for them to get back to me. I've called, again, I mean, I haven't been up to the dump last 2 weeks, so I don't know if the dumps are up. The last time I was up there, they were not. So, and then I got the phone number for the Cub Scout guy, and I'll reach out to him about the other stuff, so.
Alright, the Eco Main, I got a quote on a compactor, but I'm still waiting to wade through the waste management contract before to go into the trucking, because it might be a moot point. CMP no spray,
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to tell Jeff, I went to try to go to do the fundraiser there Saturday, and the metal bins were substantially lower than they had been before, so I don't know who took them, but somebody,
Well, they're still taking it, but they're not,
Right.
what they haven't done is put up
the boxes.
the boxes, right?
Right, I just wanted to let you know, cause before it was overflowing really bad the last week. I
Right,
talked
nothing
to you.
was up there yet.
This week, when I went Saturday, I noticed a lot of it had been cleaned out, and I did notice that the Boy Scout can of bottles.
But the biggest thing that concerned me when I talked to Rob about it, he says when he was getting the metal the old way, it was just getting pieces here and there, and we weren't getting the full tonnage for the
Right.
town, so that was the problem. So, anyway.
But I just did wanna let you know that a lot of it had been cleaned, I don't think it was completely cleaned, cause it was really overflowing.
Alright. I will double check that.
This is the agreement that was in place prior to or previous years, I should say. So Lynn nicely updated the dates on this, made a couple of small corrections, basically just a draft copy. It's basically the same contract we had before, and then under number 13, third page, I put in the payment schedule that we originally talked about earlier. If you wanna just take a week and look at that and get back to me next Thursday with any changes you want to make, we'll go from there.
did you say last time something about the length of the contract and the,
Right, yeah. She found the 6-year contract allowment, well, I had the 3-year limit. Deborah found where there was six years, so. This one's actually for 5, that's what the original agreement was.
I don't know if it's actually going anywhere, but I heard that, there was talk of making no spray statewide. Thing. I don't know if there's any reality to it, but you might wanna put a clause in, so that if that does happen, we're not tied into a contract paying for something that we don't have to.
right,
I don't know if it's got any teeth.
that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll reach out to somebody on the agricultural committee, see what they know.
Alright, anything on the noise ordinance, Jeff, is that,
I'm just holding that right to my hip, and, you know, I already turned it in, so whether it goes forward or not, we'll, you know, worry about January and see what's what.
should we take that off of here for now?
I think you can.
Are you going to present that, the way it was, or have you?
I'm not changing nothing until anybody looks at it.
So same as last time,
Yeah.
thank you, cause I still have that.
New Bridge,
Bob Foley, yeah, I got a call out, but that's where I'm at with that. That's all that is, cause this, you know, he had his father pass away, so he's been dealing with that.
alright, code enforcement officer. They talked about doing some interviews, but I kinda have an update on that I'd also like to have an executive session.
And I'd like to speak on that too, about the class we were just at. Can I get like a quick minute on it? So, the class we just had for public officials and keeping people in, they said it would be better for us if we have employees that are willing to do the job to retrain them. Because of the way the market is right now, that was one of the questions that were brought up specifically. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay.
If there's an issue with,
Yeah,
you know, qualifications and skills or whatever. But they had mentioned that them and town managers, I guess, is the issue. And they're sharing town managers now. So. You like that idea, don't you?
No, I was just thinking, I was
Get Warren over.
I was just thinking about the magazine article I just read there, that one of the new town managers upstate, she looks like she's fresh out of high school.
Yeah, oh yeah, I met her. I was at dinner with her. She came, she's like 23 or 24. She was at one of the dinners we did for the GOP here in York County, and I think she's Demi's cousin or something. Anyways, if it's the same girl, I think it's the same one.
Yeah, the picture
There's
was
a
in
lot of
there.
young people.
Yeah,
Which is good, it was just.
Because all the old people are retiring and, yeah, it's
Well,
true.
you know, it was the same girl, I talked to her a little bit about her salary, and, you know, she basically, she's a one person everything. You know, she runs the whole town and everything,
Small towns,
yeah,
yeah.
so,
Happens.
but she seemed to like it, so that, which was cool.
And then Karina has a compost at the transfer station, so we'll wait till she's feeling better.
Send her a thank you that not bringing it in today.
It's not 7:30 yet.
Lock the door.
All right, individual selectmen issues, Paul, you have anything?
I'm not sure who passed out, maybe it was Corinne, passed out the appointment process. Any of you guys get a chance to look that over?
Yeah,
I didn't get that.
I didn't get that.
What
I
is
didn't
that?
see it.
I got the conflict of interest one. I don't know what that had to do with anything.
Let me, I'll make a copy, make sure everybody gets one. Somebody handed it to me, so I'm not sure who handed it to me, but it's just a process to use for the board of selectmen to use when considering appointments. Reading down through that, it was very good, very well written, and it'd just be nice to have a practice, so there's nobody can ever question that we're showing favoritism or
Right.
any partiality or anything that way. So I'll make copies for everybody. Thought y'all had that one, sorry.
Well, she had mentioned it, for, you know, for interviewing questions, that with the interview questions and everything
Yeah,
as
this one
well.
doesn't have any, this is just
That's,
strictly.
that's the boards and committees.
Yeah.
We have one of those too, where I work.
Okay, potholes. We're coming upon that season again real soon. And one of the problems we had last year is they fixed the potholes at snow
And rip them right back
and
up?
rip them right back out again. There are certain spots, like right down at the end of this road, where it gets extremely bad and, I mean, it's just gonna be constantly all winter long. One of the options you do have is not only fix the pothole, but you can put a sign up that covers you. If you notify that there's potholes ahead, that's a warning to the drivers, so you don't have to worry about getting sued for not taking care of it.
Do we have enough signs?
I don't think we have any signs at design.
Just saying.
Yeah, so I didn't.
But no, I think that's a great
They
idea.
can, it can be just orange.
But
Yeah.
the way we would get sued is if somebody called in and complained on the pothole, and then we did nothing about it, that's what the.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
That's correct,
To
but
fix it or put the sign up?
Either one.
Either one.
Yes,
Right.
it doesn't have to be.
As long as
someone,
it's the station,
just
yeah.
constantly, I mean, it just,
Well, there's that
It was a-
material that Scott said he's gonna try,
The
that
UPM.
the UPM, that is guaranteed for 10 years, supposed to outlast everything around it too, so hopefully.
So then the road will fall apart, but the pothole.
Yeah, exactly.
the reason why
Pothole will be
now,
good.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
No,
well, now would be the time to order some signs.
yes,
You know, 25, 30 signs, whatever,
Yep.
just.
40, 50, 11.
the more you get, the cheaper they are, so.
Whatever, but I
Yeah,
just,
no, I think that's a great idea, I agree. So, you know,
A lot of residents last year put signs up on their own.
Yeah.
Potholes, pavement ends.
Fixed outdoor stickers from that company.
Yeah.
Put them on. Give them
That way,
Scott.
if somebody takes them,
Be a lot
it's
cheaper.
$50 sign.
Uniline.
Yeah, it'd be a lot cheaper. Alright,
okay, you got a plan, how we're gonna do this?
well, we ordered the transfer station stickers
Yeah.
from this company, and they make outdoor stickers, so we could do that with a stake and on a piece of metal, and it would be real cheap probably,
That's,
so, and we'd do a lot of them, a couple hundred if we needed.
Number keeps on going up.
That's right.
they're gonna get creamed when they get hit by the
Yeah,
cloud,
no.
so.
Do we all agree this
So
pothole
the
should be
cheap,
fixed now?
put it
We
back
each
on.
keep 20 in our trunk.
That's it, that's true,
See if it posts them.
yeah.
Alright,
Has Scott brought in any of the winter contract
Oh, yeah,
No.
maintenance?
yeah, you're right, yeah, that's true.
That's something, the truck drivers sign up for the winter.
Uh-oh, she's here, she's sick.
oh geez.
No, but we need to, Stacy
I'm gonna
probably
invite
has
you to
those,
Don't.
a copy of something.
Sit it right next to
It's a
you.
contract,
Paving and-
it's a contract for the snowplow
Dad,
drivers.
she's your best friend.
Give them a
Okay.
bonus.
It's a winter road.
I like her too, but she's, I've
Winter road
been around too many sick
something.
people.
I don't know if you have it, you might have it in your computer, you might,
Okay.
or she might have it, I don't know.
I make a motion not to allow Karina in.
Well, isn't it the doctor's office to give you the mask?
Yeah.
Yeah,
First you have to say, we love her, but we just don't wanna.
Oh, no, yeah, I don't, yeah.
That's all right, she was, up at the thing there, and I'm in the middle of that class, and all of a sudden I just got like, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? My blood pressure went through the roof and everything.
Really?
She's like, we need to eat more garlic, okay?
Last week we talked about the parking lots for the snowmobiles.
Yeah. He was gonna look into it and get back to us on that, I don't know if Chuck you weren't here for that. So basically Chuck, what that was the snowmobile club here, they're looking for a place to, load and offload trailers and everything for their club. And they're looking at some of the town-owned land, and they will, I told them basically just to find if there's any deed restrictions on it, cause it's the Shapley Trust, the Lebanon Trust land that they're looking at. And they said to do the parking lot, dirt and whatever, you're supposed to come back and bring us some stuff, so. I think it's a good idea, but, that's me, there's 5 of us, if they wanna, hell, bring business to the town too,
Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up is, if we're gonna consider a parking lot for something like that, might wanna try to work it into a parking lot that would also help us with the town forest. Cause right now, there's no access to the town forest without parking in front of Potter's house.
Yeah, and that's the other thing we talked about too, was about getting a hold of the conservation committee, talk to them, right, you were here for that, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
but, if we're gonna look at the whole big picture.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, I think that's awesome.
That's the one they talked about, the town forest that they talked about over,
Eagle Harbor Road.
yeah.
Behind the road.
Yeah, it's Eagle Highboy,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a town forest back there, but there's no place to park cars now. So you got a nice facility, but you don't have a lot of access to it.
Right.
So I'll tell you, I went over there on Sunday, over to the temple, and the gates were open, so I was like, oh, cool, so I'm gonna drive right down in there. Yeah, no, that's not happening, because there's so many four-wheelers and ATVs coming at you, and they can't get around you, so they're going in the ditch. And you can't turn around, because the road is so thin, so I had to back all the way out, and the guy at the farm was yelling at me, but I thought I would go all the way in to the town forest and be able to turn all the way around in there, but you can't, because there's just so many ATVs and stuff coming right at you, and none of them were rude or anything like that, just the guy at the farm was yelling at me, but everybody else was, they took their time, but they went in the ditch trying to get around me too, so you cannot even drive down there right now.
So who would we talk to about that, Paul?
Don't know, we just had discussion last week about it, so I didn't.
So what, like the clearing a place down there? is what
They said
you're
they'd do all the work.
Well, yeah, but first, if you're gonna give it for the town forest in that area, I'm not sure, cause they wanna use town property,
No.
which again brings us up to the Shapley area, which you talked
Right.
about, but that would service one particular group or groups, but it won't really service the whole town for a benefit. Eventually, we're gonna have to put something into that town forest if we're gonna,
So we could even do both places for
is
parking.
one thing, in, for the town forest is, and like you said, it's part of the ATV trail now, or the snowmobile trail, so it's,
Right,
I don't know what can be done in that area, but I think it'd be worthwhile looking into before
okay.
we may jump into something else.
Yeah, we cut the trees down, sell them, make money for the town, and then turn on, they said they'd dig up the park, right, Paul? They said they'd do all the work on it,
I'm not so sure about that,
I
but
said, what?
I thought they said they'd do
If we
the,
end
yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead,
If we
finish
end up
up.
doing a rod and gun club, that's another township
Right.
sand pit up there.
So maybe the answer might be widening that road into the town forest, cause there's plenty of space right at that opening for people to park for all of that. Right at that opening where they took out the gravel removal, but it's a mile in, so now you're talking about widening a mile's worth of road, which isn't cheap.
the Acton end, have you gone in that way?
I've never tried that.
Yeah.
I've tried that. We talked about the letters going out to the different department heads for the budget.
Yep, We did talk about it.
We have not done anything in that area.
Yeah, you might have a letter in there if you look in your computer about just, you know,
We're almost into November.
Yeah.
Budgets, get them all, yep.
so yeah, you probably have a letter.
They need to look at those and come back with their estimated figures. We meet with them, but it gives them a chance to review the numbers they gave us last year.
Okay.
Field board training.
Okay.
You was gonna send me an email?
I was?
Yeah, what you looking for training, and
I sent that to you like 2 weeks ago. You didn't get it? I'll just forward it to you again. Yeah, cause I sent that to you a couple weeks ago when you asked me about it, like maybe even 3 weeks ago.
I'm sorry, I don't have it,
I'll resend it.
cause I was watching for it, so.
CC me on it too, that way, you know, I can print it if need
You
be.
get nothing.
I get everything.
And the other thing is the expense summary report, which I'm not sure everybody's had a chance to look over a while yet.
Okay, a little bit.
We should be at about 29% right at this point of the game. And we got numbers all over the place, some are much higher. Don't know if we want to go with the department heads and determine why they're running high in certain areas, or what their plans are.
What's the title?
Expense,
Oh, I have the revenue summary report.
Yeah.
you have an expense.
Yeah, see that, and I got a revenue and expense, you should have both.
Yeah,
Some of those I wanted to talk to Stacy, which I haven't done yet.
yeah,
To
I
see
did
if
talk
there's
to
some-
her about one of them, yeah.
See if some of them are, need to be corrected.
Oh, where the wrong money's been put in the wrong.
Yes,
Yeah, the potential.
yeah,
Anything standing out to you, Paul?
General government overtime. We're just about empty.
Yeah.
Legal, we're at over half. Land use, which is 15. Comprehensive plan is in red, but I think that's because I couldn't find where the money went into it for the carryover. Nothing you did wrong, it's just, it's just the
Actually,
way.
I have something to tell you on that too. So the cannabis committee, because they were just starting on, has been meeting every week. And that was fine because we wanted a little bit of a break away from working on that. But James, was telling me they're gonna go every other week. So if that's okay, I'd like to go back every other week for comprehensive plan. So we can have that ready for March for the June ballot.
Transfer station, which is number 25.
Oh, yes.
The volume coming into the station looks like it's quite a bit higher than what we planned on.
What page are you on here?
Transfer station would be,
Top
item 25, middle grade, so we're
Number 25, all right, next page, what's that? Alright,
go down to the bottom, it gives you what's coming in, going out.
yep.
why would that be different?
More garbage coming in, more
More
trash.
garbage going out.
Yeah, well.
You're right, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Put it
no,
that
no,
way.
I guess, but I mean, we're getting, alright.
Yeah, I can't put a finger on why, but I'm just seeing a trend there that shows that we're gonna be in trouble. Unless the winter months are slower. And can't tell that yet, you know, but right now it's distraction.
We should be getting more money coming in too, though.
Well, that's on the other sheet,
Yeah, that won't offset that.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it offsets it in the big picture, but,
Not right where this is coming.
right, we're gonna end up in a hole. And then the other one would be number 36, which is highway. And that's the one that Laura talked with Stacy about a little bit tonight, but if you go into the section that deals with, what's the number?
It's 40, it's hot top, it's highway materials, right? Is that what you mean?
The highway materials.
And then the hot top is like at 81,000, but that needs to come out of LRAP. 75,654.44 will come out of LRAP, but that, she's just gonna move that.
But we got winter salt and sand from out of
He said he
that
had
same budget.
He said he had a lot for the sand and salt, and he's going to, I think he said Morton's, cause he's got a better deal for it.
Yeah.
The new stuff is coming, so,
But looking at that, just the way it's written right now, there's not
Yeah.
enough money to pay for those two.
no, I hear you.
But by changing to LRAP, that'll give them cash.
Yeah,
Overall, I mean, the highway department is fine, but in that section, line item section, he's,
I know the sand and gravel's gonna go down this year, he said it was, came in and told us that, because they got so much that's left over, so he's not buying as much,
but he's still spending $30,000 worth.
yeah.
And 60, well, it's on that sheet that you have, 60,000 something of salt.
And the winter salt,
75,000.
45.
I wrote on the side how much he's doing.
Oh, 67,000,
Yeah.
yep,
Did he come in and tell us how much he's buying?
oh, that's how much he's buying?
That's how
yeah,
much he's buying.
yeah.
So, out of the winter salt, they spent, out of the 75, he's spending 67,
That's almost it for the year, and then 30,000 for the sand,
Yep.
which is at 2/3. Okay,
Again, he might wanna, once we get the numbers clear with Stacy, you might wanna look at those numbers
we
and
may wanna
see.
sit down with him as an
Yeah.
executive session, go over his budget, you know? Because, I mean, everything he's told us, his cost should ultimately be lower this year with the plowing and everything. Where the money went up, of course, was the paving, but by keeping the bids from last year, it lowered the overall, cause the state's got 40% increase on new paving bids.
Yeah.
So,
But that,
We're just-
all that highway stuff can come out of this anyway, that's in that CIP.
I'm sure he's got a plan, we need to stay,
Yeah.
I feel we need to stay on top of it so we make sure that we're addressing.
I think we should bring him in an executive session, go over the budget, see what his plan is.
We're quarter of the way into the year.
Cause he can just be thinking, I got the money and spending it, okay? Well, not have the trends.
Yeah,
Executive session or public session? Why would that be executive session?
it's public, it's public.
Public,
Okay.
yeah.
It's public. Yeah, but once we move that, and like she said, there's some other things that have to be, moved, so,
Yeah, but there's some there that
yeah.
we
The
need to
executive
clarify.
part would be the employee parts.
Right, and he is not employed, he's an elected
I
official.
understand that, but he's hiring people, and that's what we need to find out where they are and who they are.
So just so you know, Quinn is here for executive session, she'd be in here with all the doors closed.
radio maintenance. $3,000 on radio maintenance for the fire department?
Yeah, that's the last one I had was the fire department.
we
Radio
signed
maintenance
that.
one, but you saw it, mine just did.
Then we signed that purchase order.
The phone bill, why is the phone bill $1,500 for 3 months, 4 months? It's weird.
At the fire department?
Well, this is questions we need to ask.
Maybe it's-
Well, this brings up something, that software that they asked for last week, that we approved. The state of Maine Fire Marshals, program through MEFR, you can get the reporting software for free. And it also has scheduling on it. And the state's going and trying to go in a direction where they want all the departments to use that. And they may be instituting some sort of penalty down the road if they don't, because they want everybody on board with the same software. So begs the question of why we needed a $3,100 program when the state offers one for free.
And with the heat and fuels, that we're talking fire department now, what's the end game for them? Are we gonna go through the guy that's doing GA, for us, or are we just gonna have him?
That's who I'd like to use. I mean, he's donating oil to the town, he's a resident.
Yeah, getting rid of the service fee. Reason I ask, because don't forget, that company was charging us on average almost 50 cents per gallon.
No, I know, I have no love lost leaving them.
Yeah.
They charge us, and they'd still be charging us that if we hadn't said anything.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we just said, yeah, you're getting your oil from this guy, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know? Because, I mean, I think that's, yeah, I'm, what's the name of the company again?
Quality.
Quality Fuels.
Do they have a contract with the other guy?
No,
Well, we didn't sign no contract with them.
Well, you might not have, before you,
no, there's no contract.
thank you.
Just the
Technically,
fact that they're charging.
if we're gonna change vendors,
Yeah.
we ought to put it up for bid. Because there is 2 or 3 other,
No, there's only one in town now.
Only one
There's
in
only
town.
one in town now, I actually
Yep,
looked that up and the other company was sold out.
it was. There's only one, it's that Quality Fuels, the
Yeah.
liability company. That's the only one here in town. And again, for me, the fact that he's willing to do a GA without the service fees and 50 gallons any time of the night,
Yeah.
And he did say, if we're good with that, I can give you guys his personal cell phone, you can call him on his personal cell phone any time of the night if you need to. So, if we're good with that, we'll do that, I'll give you his number.
Should we write up some, I
Personal cell phone.
mean, I don't know.
He doesn't want it out.
Well, I have it, so I.
About the,
Oh, you know,
Well, just about,
Yes.
this is
You know everybody.
I'm just
yeah,
saying,
I'll put something in for the twin, because the other company gives me that same
right,
deal, so.
and then he did recommend, now that we're on the fuel for propane, he did recommend again Easton Gas. Because with their service, with their cost or whatever, they provide service too. So, and Fieldings,
who are we buying from now?
Easton, we don't get nothing.
No, I said, who are we buying from?
Gagnon.
Gagnon,
Okay.
same company that was doing the oil.
It's underground
They
tank.
have proprietary rights to the tank, so
Yeah.
that's when you run into problems.
Well, they own the tank? Even though it's
We don't own
underground?
the tank,
Even though it's underground?
it's underground.
And we don't own it, they do?
I'm not sure which company owns it, we went to change it before and we ran into a problem.
yeah, I don't know either, but I
Wow.
don't know.
So that's something you wanna check before,
Yeah, absolutely.
before you jump too
Yeah.
far
Okay.
with the propane. Make
Oh,
sure
okay.
who owns the tank.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
If we're not in a rush, just for keeping things consistent, and does it make sense to put it out to bid, just to make sure this, I expect it'll be the best offer, he's local. So it might just be rubber, jumping through hoops
Are you talking what, for the fire department fuel?
for the oil and propane.
Well, why don't we talk about the whole town?
right?
Huh?
Aren't we talking about the whole town?
You mean GA? No, I'm talking GA. We were talking GA and fire department.
They're the only ones that use oil.
No,
What do
They
you use
have-
here in town hall?
don't they have a tank up at the road barn?
That's for fuel for the trucks. He gets that from somebody else.
For roof, on the roof,
Yeah.
I got it.
He has electric heat, right? He uses electric heat.
Well, here's what I will say, to answer
Think
your
Alan's
question,
looking too.
he said no matter,
Transfer
with,
station.
with the GA stuff, the biggest problem is the service fees. No company's willing to get rid of those fees.
That would be part of it. That-
Right.
Basically, what I'm saying is, we know this guy will probably win, but you can go through the process anyway, so that you've gone through the process.
I don't know. That's a good question. Do we bid out oil for government assistance or general
Not for
assistance?
GA, right?
No.
I can, no.
You, no, she can.
No.
I use whoever waives the fee, so that's why I've always been using Down East, because they waive the fee.
But for the fire department,
Well, you make that as your bid,
Yeah, you put that in the bid,
put that in the bid,
yeah,
GA
yeah,
with these requirements.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so we'll sign a contract with, I have one with one, I can sign a contract with him and.
But if you put it up to bid, you could put that in there for GA too, that's what Paul's saying is, that would be part of the bid also.
Well, then, yeah, I mean,
For
they keep,
Yeah.
try to get 3 bids on everything, I guess, right, but we gotta take the propane, so just the oil for now,
Just do
it's up to you, boss.
It's up to me, that's fine, put it out to bid.
So this, so we gotta do what, 3? Then we get-
If you can get 3, I mean, you might.
No, I know, I
It's
know.
a whole process, it's like you gotta put it online in 30
The only thing that
days.
scares me, yeah, I mean,
I think he's at market value, I mean, I'd be okay with using him myself for the amount of fuel we're gonna use and whatnot.
I think GA,
Market value,
you know, I called a couple
and waives a
companies.
delivery fee on the
Well, get
GA.
rid of that, so that's what you guys asked me to do, so to put it out to bid, to me, is just kinda silly, cause I already did the calls and who's gonna do what, you know? The only other one we might run into is Fieldings, but
Once
they,
they're in town.
yeah, once they're in town, but they're more interested in their Rochester accounts, cause they can't have their holding tanks over there. So,
You wanna make a motion,
what,
go with them, or?
I'll make a motion to go with Quality Fuels Limited Liability Company for our oil needs.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
I think I'd like to see some limitations on that, like we just put on, I mean, granted, he said he's gonna do that, but
For general assistance,
the general system and.
We write up something, there has to be something.
know, I'm-
and-
Okay.
so what do we do in the interim?
And the market
So
value.
could you write something up and then we'll,
Contract,
okay,
basically.
Yeah,
absolutely,
that
just
won't
sounds
take
good, yep.
3 weeks, it'll take
So,
a week.
yeah,
I'm saying if we have something, if
well,
we,
you can write up a contract and we can look it over and,
Well, she'll write we'll write the contract.
yeah,
Alright,
Because
so,
it's our, what we
Yes, no,
want, not what they
should I
want.
make my motion for all oil needs for the town then?
no, we should wait till next week after she has something written up and he's,
I'm doing just GA, right? Or am I doing all the
Fire
Fire.
department too.
fire too? Okay.
Yeah, if they're the only ones that need it, yeah.
And all oil, period, okay.
That's a lucrative account, fire department.
Yeah,
oh yeah, they went through a lot last year,
Sucks up the butt.
alright.
Alright, so am I withdrawing my motion?
Yeah.
No, I'm all okay.
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Okay, so I'm withdrawing my emotion.
alright.
Very emotional.
Withdrawn.
My emotion is all messed up.
Alright, so anything else, Paul?
Yeah, just keep on going, sorry.
Oh, that's alright.
We talked about what's required to be bid, what's not required to be bid, whatever. We did find
That was what.
both sides.
Have extra one of those, Paul?
Okay, good.
I knew you did. Thank you.
okay, so what was the vote?
They both passed.
Okay.
Do you have a motion?
So again,
Thank you. That way.
that's my last one.
So Article 48,
Over 1,000.
Now, this goes back to the way Laura mentioned about, there's a statement on there missing about, how do you put that?
Well, until rescinded by the town, so I believe, and I just believe that we did look into this because somebody had brought it up. But, so was this just for that year, was this forever? It really doesn't say that, so I believe that it could be challenged, and I thought we got a legal opinion, but I don't, you know.
Well, it doesn't only say just for that year.
But it doesn't say it's not either, that's the question,
You're right.
yeah. Cause I believe we went through this already, but I don't, you know, gosh, who knows what year it was.
What's Australian ballot?
Secret ballot,
Okay, oh, I do, yeah.
it's a secret
That
ballot,
was my question too.
yeah, it's a secret ballot, yeah, that's what they used to refer it to as Australian ballot. I mean, what we could do is, you know, ask MMA, just, you know, put this in there and You didn't already ask him to do it.
No, I did not.
I'm sure we might have at one time,
So
but,
the whole town has to vote?
well, they voted on this, yeah.
No, so any purchase over $10,000,
Such as a fire truck.
such as a fire truck, the
Yeah.
irony of it all, it has to be voted on by the town like a referendum type thing?
Yeah,
That's what it
no,
looks like.
we the innocent, to
Well,
vote, but yeah, it does
before
say
you
that,
get too buried,
yeah.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
It's all basic.
I was thinking I
No,
was
no,
gonna
I
have
just-
this so that I would know what,
Well,
we did vote, I don't know if it was.
yeah.
Hey, Isaac.
Thank you.
You look at number 4, and this is 1989.
Okay.
Which also kind of goes along with 61.
Right,
Yeah,
but what is that $1,000 whenever?
Since neither one was ever withdrawn,
Yeah.
for both things, I don't know.
It depends how you interpret it, I believe,
Yeah,
or how a legal person would interpret it.
So, yeah, I mean, that says anything over 10,000 has to be bidded. You got
but not
voted
voted
on,
on, voted on.
voted on,
Voted on.
voted on, yeah.
If a legal opinion would say that would stand.
How do you, so that goes back to, cause we used to do all those town hall meetings, yay and nays with the hands up and down. That's where this comes into play. Well, that's what we did.
But that's an Australian ballot.
That's for the, that's different than number 4, you got 4?
Oh, yeah, you're
Yeah.
at number 4.
Yeah,
You're right.
Australian ballot, secret ballot.
Right.
Ranked choice voting came out of Australia, so that tells you all you need to
Just
know.
saying.
so,
Can I go to the bathroom?
And this is the
Something about-
newest,
All in
Laura,
favor?
this is the
No
newest
second. Yes.
1989.
Yes,
But is this $1,000 for road projects?
what thousand?
The
The
Article
first one's
48
a
from
thousand,
83.
yeah, but
Is
that,
that still in effect?
It's
Has it
never
ever
been
been-
rescinded.
It was
But-
never rescinded, so.
but
Anything over $1,000
They don't say the
has to
year,
go out
though.
to bid?
That one's 83.
I think,
go ahead. No, no.
what I'm saying is, I remember we talked about this and I believe we got a legal opinion, I don't, off the top of my head. But it doesn't say it's forever, but it doesn't say it isn't, so, usually like we do now when we want something to be until the town rescinds it, we say that.
This could have just been for the following year then.
It could have been, and it's how you interpret it, so, I don't know. And to be quite honest, the referendum thing, that would be awful to even try to do. I mean, do you realize now, for a referendum ballot, it's 60 days in advance, you have to certify something, and then you got, I mean,
Would have to go in June.
yeah, but
Every time.
what if you had to buy a furnace?
Right.
No, this is road projects only.
No, you're
No,
looking
it
at the wrong
doesn't,
one.
no.
Are you talking about number 4 now?
Yeah,
Countdown begins.
It says, any ordinance of capital investment of over 10,000 be brought before the town to be voted on. Now, obviously, an ordinance, we always vote on secret ballot, obviously, but I mean, I don't know, I think we would need a legal opinion to say, okay, what,
yeah, so you have to wait 90 days by the time you do it to
Well-
get a furnace. It's
well,
over 10
no, I
grand.
mean, it could be a furnace, it could
Absolutely, in the
be,
middle of winter.
it could be,
Well, we're still allowed to invoke the hometown rule,
Or
where
the
we can do an emergency vote session. We're still allowed to do that according to what I read.
But you still have to have preparation the day before it, you can't just go to
yeah,
a,
you can't just do
you
it.
can't just go to
I'm
a
just-
special election tomorrow.
I'm just saying, for hometown rule, for
referendum
this
ballots.
particular thing, he just mentioned the furnace, that can be done under the hometown rule without any of the other stuff that's required.
All right,
If you read what it
If
says.
What's next,
if we're doing it ourselves, or you're asking the town,
Just read it.
there are rules for a town, to have a town meeting.
No, I know, I'm just
And
going by
you
what that
can't-
hometown rule said.
A lot of that changed with that 60-day requirement.
I know that.
Read that 60-day
Yeah,
requirement.
right, anyway, okay,
All right,
let's
next
move
ball.
on. Sorry.
I just wanted to say, my recommendation for this would be, is we develop our own ordinance or,
and put it on the ballot in June.
and rescind these 3.
If we even have to.
well.
What three?
Make it nice and clear.
48,
Yeah.
4, and what's the other one?
There'd be a record of it.
Yeah.
61?
I would ask first before we start, if we even have to do that, I would ask first.
Yeah.
Because,
Either way, I mean,
Yeah, something,
they're hanging it out there, and we need to
yeah, I agree.
address it, get rid of it, and then we don't have to.
cause $10,000 is not that much money nowadays.
No,
for
unfortunately, it's
things.
not.
Or 1,000 even, or, you know, so, okay.
And I apologize for taking too much time tonight.
No, that's
okay.
fine. A lot of good stuff.
What was it, 1990 or something? Didn't they shut down the town?
No, it was 2000 and.
No, it was the early
I believe.
90s. Wasn't it early?
2001 or
I
two.
was working here, I remember that.
What do you have, Laura?
The only thing I have is, well, I'll mention that later, but, the transfer station hours, and I kinda said something about this, the holiday hours. I think we need to clarify whether they're open for the holidays or they're not, because every holiday I get people calling me and I'm like, "Please,
I'll talk to Robert on Saturday.
because before, like I said, we used to post it before they were closed, and then they'd come running down here and say, no, we're open. So, I don't know, either it's one or the other, and I don't
Maybe
care
we
what
just
it
get a
is.
complete calendar
That just happened.
I'll get
and put it online.
Crazy.
So
I'll see-
I
I'll talk to
believe,
him Saturday.
I believe they probably do close now for
Right.
holidays, and I don't care, but we just need to do it and then post it so people know, that's all,
They were closed Labor Day.
yeah. So we just need clarification.
I said close.
Because they weren't.
7:30.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Alright, the only thing I have is Thanksgiving week, the office is closed Thursday and Friday.
and Wednesday.
And
That's the
Wednesday.
day closed, yeah.
So, do you guys wanna go
Tuesday.
without a meeting that week, is that? Or you wanna do one on Tuesday, what's the?
Well, how's that gonna work for her for payroll and stuff? Does she need us to,
We gotta sign it.
yeah, as long as, right, as long as she gets it,
Yeah,
we just have to sign it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm off that whole week.
Yeah, that's fine,
No meeting?
that's fine. Is that okay with you?
Just leave it, we have to have an emergency one, we'll have an emergent one, but other than that,
Yeah.
don't plan on it.
Okay, sounds
Take
good.
it off the calendar.
Works for me.
So no meeting that week, is your decision?
No, you can.
No, not on
enjoy turkey with
Thanksgiving,
your-
yeah, no
with your loved
Thanksgiving.
ones.
We can spend Thanksgiving at home.
Thanks for giving me a day a week off.
And what football, yes. Yes.
Jeff, you have any?
Just like-
Do I have anything, individual selection issues, so, no, I don't.
Alright,
Got you all excited though, didn't I?
Yeah. Did.
I think I covered everything I needed to, but however, I will say that we got an executive session scheduled for 7:30.
Yep, why don't you make a motion?
Make a motion, 7:30, we go into executive session for personal matter pursuant to MRSA 4005-6A, 7:30.
I'll second it.
Motion second.
Alright,
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
There. So now you need to know when we come out and when we go into the other one. Remember that.